Hello everyone, Will Irish here, founder of the Life Coach Marketing Academy, and tonight you're going to learn the gentle art of filling your life coaching practice. We're really fired up to get this new training out to you guys, so I would recommend that you have a pad of paper and pen nearby and take notes as we go through it. So let's dive right in. Tonight, what you'll learn, we're going to start off with this one core formula that determines your success or failure in marketing your life coach business. And guys, when I say this, I mean it. Master this one core formula. We call it our 4-core formula. You'll see why in a moment. You'll be unstoppable. So definitely take notes on that part. We'll also cover the real reason why you've struggled to get life coaching clients thus far and what you can do to solve it. That's probably more important. And finally, I want to share this jewel with you. This is our innovative marketing strategy that we have totally custom designed just for life coaches, not career coaches, not any other type of coaching, life coaches in particular. We have put together a very specific marketing strategy that's about 1 year ahead of its time, and it's totally doable even if you're new. And why is it important to be 1 year ahead of its time? Because we don't want you to implement something and have it be outdated. We want you to actually have this thing in place and allow it to work for you. So definitely stay around for that. That's our big reveal, if you will. But we're going to set the table on it in this first couple sections to make sure you fully understand when we get to that strategy, you're ready to see its power. We're also going to cover a lot of key questions that came in. For example, we want to make sure you understand why selling your services simply won't work well in this industry, and we're going to teach you how to do it instead. I also want you to know exactly what solutions your potential clients are looking for. And what I mean by that is I want you to be able to go out there and use some resources that we've put together for our own business to find out exactly what's going on in the heart of your prospects. Imagine if you could know what your prospects were thinking and put your marketing materials in their own words. Guys, this alone can change your business this week, and you can make some changes around this. And you probably wouldn't expect to hear this from an internet guy, but I do not endorse paying thousands of dollars for website stuff out of the gate. It's a mistake, and I want to teach you how you can leverage some free tools, some low-cost tools, social media, and be able to create a serious pipeline of prospects very inexpensively. And the best part of this whole training, everything we're about to teach you is yours to walk away from this training event with. Okay, we want you to start implementing this today. This isn't passive watching. I want you to take notes, make sure that everything that you see, you understand, go back and rewind it, play it again if you need to. But we're trying to put enough in here that you had a launch pad, you had a place to start, and you were able to take some action starting today. So definitely would look forward to your comments to hear what you gained most out of this and what your thoughts and feedback were. Okay, so what you're about to see next is real feedback from life coaches when they first approach us. And this came back to us during surveys, through talking with life coaches. These are actual snippets of their text. It's too time consuming marketing my business. How do I build a website? I hate sounding needy, like I'm selling myself. I'm not technical. How do I come up in Google? How can I take advantage of social media? I simply don't know where to start. So all these questions were coming in left and right, and it was like everyone had their own angle they were trying to pursue. But they were really asking one question. What was beneath all of those modalities that they were trying to approach marketing their life coach business? The real question everyone is asking: what's the best way to fill my coaching practice? They may have thought it was social media. They may have thought it was coming up in Google. But really what they wanted to know was, what's the best way to do this? So we're going to actually talk about that. And let's start at that core. I want to introduce this one core formula that can determine your success or failure. So I told you we'd launch right into this meat and make sure that you get something right out of the gate. So this is our core 4 formula. If you come away with nothing else, I want you to make sure you write this down. Because if you can make this, even if you're not using our strategy, if you can adopt this in principles to your marketing strategy, it will change your business forever. So the first thing in the core formula is you need to find out exactly what your prospect wants. That takes a little bit of research, not much, very little, very quickly. But you can find out exactly what your prospects want. If you don't know, frankly, you're speaking very vaguely and ambiguously to many people. So you need to know, number one, what your prospects want. exactly. And I want to emphasize the word exactly. Okay. Number two, you need to create priceless resource for that desire. What does that resource look like? It could be a report or an ebook or a video series or something that would be like a mind map or a cheat sheet, something that they would find so amazingly valuable. And create that for them. Give them your best stuff that really helps what you did in number one, solve that problem. What were they looking for? And give them a priceless resource for that desire. And then I want you to place it in the path of your prospect for them to discover. This is such a huge point. Place it in the path of your prospect for them to discover. I'll tell you why that's important in a moment. And then finally, to round this out, I want you to give it away for free. Am I crazy? Yes, kind of. But there's a method here. If you give your best stuff away for free and you are simply just asking them to join your email list, for example, you are now creating a know, like, and trust relationship with someone you have never met. But here, number three is a real key to know. When you place it in the path of your prospect for them to discover, and you're giving them exactly what they want, a very priceless resource that they were looking for, and you're giving it away, here's what's going on. People simply don't like to be sold anything. You write that down. They don't like to be sold anything, but they do love to discover. It makes an entirely different framework for how their mind works when they're coming across something of such personal nature as such hiring a life coach. So place it in their path for them to discover. Give it away for free in exchange for joining your mailing list, and I'll tell you what you can do to capitalize that in a minute. So if I was to sum it up in one statement, it would be offer exactly what a client is looking for and let your prospects discover it. Here's some common fail points that we see with life coaches, and you might be able to relate to some of these. Life coaches often lead with these very vague or ambiguous offerings. For example, I was working with a life coach a few weeks ago, and one of the things she was saying is become the person, or become, this is an actual headline, become the person you always dreamed of. Guys, that is way too vague. You cannot talk like that and expect to trigger some emotional connection to somebody. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, oh, I'm going to go out and shop for something that can help me be the person I always dreamed of. No one does that. Name the last time you searched Google in that way. It just doesn't happen. You have to be very, very specific. So leading with vague or ambiguous offering is the first fail point. The second is there's often this attempt to sell their services. And the reason why that happens is mainstream marketing. In most mainstream marketing for different products and services out there, you can do that. You can go out there and sell your service. But here, we're dealing with a life coach. You're dealing with selling something that is really intangible. But the most important thing is you're dealing with the soul and heart of a person. In this countercultural way, you're asking a person to raise their hand and say, hey, I need a coach. I need some help getting over some obstacles. And so that's just counterintuitive for people in today's world to ask for help. And when you're sitting there trying to sell somebody on that, that reeks of revenue potential. And do you see on such a personal nature how that could turn someone off? Elevator pitches are a great example of it. I have a separate module just on elevator pitches, but you don't want to sell your service. And then finally, you just don't have a functional strategy to be discovered. As I mentioned, you don't want to sell, you want to be discovered. There's a huge, huge paradigm shift there when you go through being discovered rather than selling. So you want to do this. Offer exactly what a client is looking for and let your prospects discover it. So here's some core needs recap of what your client needs. In order for you to fill your life coaching practice, whatever marketing strategy you employ must include, you must know exactly what people want. And even with an array of coaching cases, you must speak directly to the specific need of each individual prospect. That's kind of a long sentence, so let me break that down. You may offer offer an array of different coaching cases. For example, you might help people with faith-based spirituality. You might also help somebody holding them accountable with some fitness routines or desires of their life. You might help somebody specifically with relationships, etc. So you have these different things in life. The life wheel is a great example of areas they might need. So even with an array of different coaching cases that you offer your help in, you cannot, that's what leads to that vague, ambiguous headline, right? You want to help people fulfill all these areas of life. Unfortunately, most people don't look at that, at their life, and without doing a life wheel, for example, which most people don't do unless they're with a life coach, they actually don't know what areas are really holding them back. So they believe something is holding them back, and that's what you need to find out so you can offer that to them and bring them in. And I'll show you how to do that. It sounds impossible here, but you have to do that. And then finally, you must be discoverable. If you're not, you end up selling. So I want to show you the easier way to do this. And by the way, that's just your prospect's needs, right? I mean, you probably have some of your own desires, probably like some of these. You want it to be quick to set up and easy to maintain. This marketing strategy, that is, right? I hear this so often. I don't want to spend my time marketing. I want to spend my time coaching. So you want it to be quick and easy to set up. You probably want it to be a low cost to implement, right? If you don't have a lot of revenue coming from coaches, you probably don't want to invest a lot of money to get them. So we'll talk about that. Low technical threshold. That's just something that's very common in terms of life coach marketers. Or I should say life coaches. They really don't want to get involved with the technical part of it. Some have a capacity to do that, but others are limited to how much technicalities they want to get involved with. And wouldn't it be great if you had clients that were dying to work with you so you didn't go out there and have to sell yourself, right? That's what we're talking about. Getting clients who are dying to work with you. Life coach that I just met with again last week came through our training, and she was just saying, she had 4 different clients really enthusiastic to work with her, and they just fell off and lost her enthusiasm and kind of went away. Wouldn't it be great to have clients like lined up waiting and wanting to work with you? Also, I've heard from many of you that you don't know how to handle the price conversation. And I want to tell you that's a good sign, right? Because that revenue potential thing I mentioned earlier, you want to make sure you have a removal of this awkward price conversations, make it unawkward. The ability to automate as much as possible. That goes back to you spending more time coaching. And then again, the internet guy says you don't want to manage 18 different social network accounts. I get so many questions saying, how much time should I spend on Facebook? How much time should I spend on Twitter? How much time should I spend, on Flickr and all these other Pinterest, etc. I want to teach you exactly how to do it through our marketing strategy for life coaches. Okay, so both at once, if we were to put these together, it's a very tall order. You have your client's minimum needs, which were know exactly what your people want. Even with an array of coaching cases, you have to speak directly to each specific prospect, and you must be discoverable. You add that to your needs, which, as we said, were quick and easy, low cost, low technical, clients that are lined up waiting to work with you, removal of price conversations, or at least awkward ones, ability to automate and not have to manage 18 different social network accounts. So if you put both of those together, doesn't that sound kind of like a near perfect strategy? I'm going to show you how you can do that, because that's exactly how we built our strategy to really explode each one of these points. Make sure that they're totally leveraged. So how's it done? I would write this down. Here's your first 3 steps to doing this, and we'll cover the rest a little bit later, but I want you to just get some actionable steps. The first one, brainstorm your most profitable and enjoyable coaching topics. And why I say that is I had a coach a couple of weeks ago. She really wasn't familiar with who her clients were and who she really wanted to talk to. And so I want you first to know who you enjoy working with and who are your profitable ones. So brainstorm maybe your top 4 most profitable or enjoyable coaching topics or cases. I also want you to learn next exactly what your audiences truly want. You're going to find out how to do that in this series. And then the third thing you would do is you'd gather ideas of what they would love you for. So once you know exactly what your audience wants, then you're about gathering ideas and coming up with a resource that they would love you for. right? That makes a huge difference. So you can probably see where we're going with this as I talked about being discovered. So that's a huge part. So learn exactly what people really want. What's that all about? I don't know if you've seen this movie, but this was, Mel Gibson and Helen Hunt in that movie, What Women Want. And why I put this frame in here is this kind of captured the whole idea. If you hadn't seen the movie, the idea was Mel Gibson, I think, got struck by lightning or something, and he had the ability to read the mind of any woman he was around. So he found out what women really want, even if they didn't say it, so he could hear their thoughts. And why am I throwing that in the midst here? Well, if you want to find out exactly what your prospects really want, you need to understand a few things. The first thing is the reason it's not easy to know exactly what people want is many times people simply don't say how we really feel, or we don't say what we really think. Okay, that's key. Not what we really feel or what we really think. That's not what comes out of the mouth. And that's what you saw in Helen Hunt and Mel Gibson. He was learning what she was really thinking. But that goes double time in the life coach industry because it couldn't be more personal. People just simply don't fling their arms in the air and say, hey, I'm insecure or I don't have self-confidence and I need help with that. I mean, that is just not something people do. If you don't believe me, look at Facebook statuses. People like to cast themselves in the best light, but you still have a duty to find out exactly what they really want. So I'm going to prepare you. I want to ask yourself to just pause for a moment and prepare yourself for a very bold statement, but it's very true. And I hope this is eye-opening for you. For the first time in all of human history, we're able to get a glimpse into the very soul of a person. We can now see their unspoken minds. What's that now? So, bold statement, couple of sentences, very heavy. For the first time in all of human history, what is that about? What is unspoken minds about? Let me share with you. There was this thing that came around called Google, and Google basically organized the internet. And masses amount of people use Google. You do, I'm sure. I do, I know. But here's how most people look at it. They use it for their tool, and no one ever really stops to think about what do you do if you go around, if you turn Google around to the backside and take a look at what people are putting into there. And why would they put things into Google that would be beneficial to you? So let's talk about this for a minute. If you understand how Google is so successful, you understand that people can ask Google anything. I don't know what you've asked, but I've asked some crazy things. People ask Google crazy things all the time. But there's a reason why people have turned Google into this trusted confidant, this place where for the first time in all of human history, we're getting things that we would have never known going on in the heart of a person. So no facade, not trying to cast themselves in the best light. They know if they type it into Google, no one else will know. So there's this unedited purity of truth that's exposed because the person is speaking with anonymity. It's powerful. And there's this other dynamic that also aids that, and that's this willingness to be vulnerable when no fear of judgment exists. So if you combine this dichotomy of an unedited purity because of anonymity, along with this willingness to be vulnerable, you really have truth coming out of what they really, really do want. So the key here is you kind of have to turn Google around to the backside and find out what people are typing in for your topics, for your life coaching niches. So how do we do that? How can we turn that around and use it to your advantage? I want you to see just how heavy this really can be, and then we'll take some light side to it, and then I'll show you how you can do it. There's a search term that I was doing some research on some how-tos, and the phrase "how to kill myself painlessly" came up. If this doesn't shock you, I'm not sure what would. This is searched 6,600 unique times per month. That is tremendously saddening, right? How to kill myself painlessly, search 6,600 unique times. That means different computer sets, different people. And that is only one iteration of the phrase, right? They can also say how to commit suicide painlessly or commit suicide without feeling pain. There's a lot of ways you can slice this one up. The point I'm trying to make here is that's not something someone probably would ask their best friend, their mother, their brother. This is the first time this stuff is coming out of the human soul. So if you want to find out what your niche, what you enjoy helping people through, if you want to find out what's really on their mind in an unfiltered manner, you go behind Google and you find out. And I'm going to show you some tools I use to make that happen. Here's my point though, and you want to jot this down because this is a key takeaway. People don't always say what they feel, but they sure do type what they mean. And that comes true when we look at Google. So they may not always say what they feel, but they sure do type it. And this is a perfect example of it. And when I say they type whatever is on their mind, I mean it. Just for fun, I threw in a couple examples of some real searches recently. Check this out. Somebody actually typed in, if I have toads in my toilet, does it mean my sewer line is damaged? That was something somebody asked Google. How about this one? How come when I talk to girls on Facebook, they don't answer me back? Again, we thought Google and Facebook weren't connected. Clearly, Google knows the answer to that one. This is my favorite. Why are their school? Somebody actually typed that in there. Why are their school? That is classic. Clogged toilet with a Swiffer. What would happen if I hired two private investigators to follow each other? Give that some thought. Will a sock clog a sewer line? So again, people are going, whatever's on their mind, they're going to Google, and they're in this unfiltered manner. They're not worried about being judged because they know Google, they're anonymous, and secondly, they're vulnerable. They're willing to be vulnerable. No one's going to judge them. So turning Google around to see what people are really looking for in this unfiltered manner, I want to show you how you can do this with a real example. We have someone, life coach Nev. She contacted us after watching some of our training and being on our fan page. And she works with folks that are struggling with depression, and she specifically wanted to focus on the holistic treatment of depression in her life coaching business. So what I'm going to do next video is I'm going to take you live over the internet. I'm going to show you exactly the tools, what we would use on this example to find out what's going on, what people are looking for in their own words, and how we can turn that into an awesome resource that would attract people to it, which obviously would lead them to you as a life coach. So we're going to use Life Coach Nev as a real example for holistic treatment of depression. So in the next video, I'll take you over, and this is exactly what I want you to think about for your niches. Okay? I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.